Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's show. This is Metaphysical Minds, and I'm your host, Shay Parker. Gosh, we've already got a lot of people jumping on board, shouting out, saying spirit to us, and there's a reason they're saying spirit. That's because they want to subscribe to future shows, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm going to greet the people that are chiming in, but first I'm going to bring on our guests. Now, these two lovely ladies are no stranger to this show. They've both been expert guests in the past, and I'm sure they will many times in the future, because the word expert is exactly what they are, and they've got a ton of information in their brains that they want to share with you guys. So we're going to go ahead and bring them on to today's show, which is a very exciting one. It's Exploring Past Lives, Part 1. Big topic here. So, we do, as always, have a lot to cover in this show. Part 2 of this show will be 2 weeks from now, but I'm going to go ahead and jump in, and I'll bring in our guests that are going to probably blow you away, past, present, and future here today. So I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. Katherine Glass is a professional psychic medium. She was the winner of our Psychic of the Year award on bestamericanpsychics.com. She's known globally for, helping people, providing psychic mediumship readings, and both these ladies are outstanding. So I can't say enough about them. I'm not going to go into their full bios. We'll go ahead and put their links right here in the comments. And then our second guest today, but certainly not, there's no order here, guys. Samantha Hall is also a psychic medium, animal communicator. Her whole entire bio is, you can find on her website as well, that we'll post. And we've got a lot to do. So past lives, it's a fascinating topic. I'm sure many of you've probably heard of past life regressions, or oh gosh, in a past life I was somebody, or people have had these deja vu moments, and we're gonna delve into all that and see if that might be part of their past lives, or how everything is connected. So to start, a couple little bit of detailed things I want to say. Again, I mentioned if these people that are commenting spirit, they're doing that because they want to subscribe to future shows. So if you want to do that, folks, please type spirit in our comments today. Also, if we're discussing anything that you think might be helpful to someone else, or you think might be interesting to someone else, please share. If you want to comment live and have us actually be able to see it, you have to do it on the Best American Psychics Facebook page. So I'll put that link up here in just a second. If you're on someone else's page and you comment, we won't see it right away, but we will see it right away if you're on the Best American Psychics Facebook page, which we'll post up here in the comments. Really quickly, before we jump in, if we're talking about anything throughout the show, folks, and you have a question, please type it in the comments, because we're going to try and answer some questions. So really quickly, give a shout out to Karen. Kate's with us. Sherry or Cherie Tuck Hall. Hello. Lynn, Tina, Susan. Everybody is starting to kind of chime in with us. So hello to everyone. Thanks for joining us. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the show. I'm going to start. I went alphabetically, so I'm going to keep with that theme for right now. Katherine Glass is going to be our first. I'm going to ask you the first question. What are past lives, Katherine? Help us out. So.
Oh boy. Past lives. Well, this just a heads up. This show is going to get really interesting. A lot because of my co-host here, Samantha. She's just awesome. So, past lives are a word, a phrase to describe the journey of the soul, really. And to put it in really clear, succinct terms, I like to describe it as the tapestry of your soul. And your soul has experiences that it gathers over many incarnations. Your soul is the vehicle for your spirit essence, your pure light that's eternal. And your soul sort of encapsulates that spirit. This is just one way to think about it. And then your soul incarnates in physical form many times over in order to grow experiences. Now, physical form is up for grabs, because it depends where and what dimension you incarnate in. I'm just going to get us off and running right from the start. So if you incarnate on Earth, you're going to have this kind of physical form, or an animal, or something else perhaps. There's a whole belief system about that we can get into, animals versus humans and incarnations. But generally, it's the tapestry of your soul experiences, ongoing, pretty much you have eternity to, I guess, elevate and evolve with each incarnation. Take it away, Sam.
Yeah. Hey, that's absolutely what I was going to say. You must be psychic.
No, that's
for mind melding.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and I completely agree with that. Absolutely 100%. And it's just that, what was the original question?
What are past lives?
Okay, to me, they're exactly what Katherine said, but you can also look at it from a perspective of all consciousness happening at once. If you prefer to think about things in linear time, saying that was yesterday, this is today, we can do that. If you prefer to think about things all happening at once, we can work with you on that. But past lives are just that, the soul's journey to understanding itself as the oneness of everything. And so right now in this physical form, you are in one little tiny point in space and time that's focusing on this body and this consciousness. But there's a whole universe of you going on out there at the same time. So past life looks are just looking at different points of your consciousness in the giant form of the giant tapestry. That's a great word, of space-time, to see what was going on at that point in space-time, who you were, what issues you had, what was good, what was bad. And so those past lives are just parts of you that are happening all in the grand scheme of consciousness. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, basically there's no limit, I guess, to the amount of past lives that an individual could have. Okay.
No, because consciousness is infinite.
Right. So in that, you hear about these soul contracts and everything, and that's a whole another show. But in other words, I've always been puzzled by someone comes into this life, and I've been told from several different psychic mediums that if you have a soul contract, you're basically agreeing, you're choosing to re-enter this physical form. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in effect, you've already experienced a past life, or probably several thousand, and then you're making a choice to sort of have a redo. Okay. Now we were talking before the show started about how ideally, if you come back into this physical form, it would be to grow. You're to evolve. And we were talking about how people sometimes get stuck. And Samantha, you had said, well, they have to make a conscious decision in reviewing their past life to come into this life and say, I don't want to make those same mistakes. Yeah. So my question here, and I'm just sort of babbling and thinking off the top of my head, but in the work that you ladies do, okay, with the past life work, if a client comes to you, and Katherine, I'll bounce back to you on this. If a client comes to you and says, okay, I want to do a past life regression, tell me why that's helpful to them, and also what that looks like. If I just come in out of the blue and I say, I've never had this before, I don't know what this is, what is a past life regression going to do for me? Or do I get to say, I want to go back to, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years? I mean, how does that work for you as an advisor?
Okay, thanks. I've never worked with anyone specifically requesting a period of time to go back to, so I can't answer to that. I imagine with my abilities, I would simply set the intention and trust the guides that work with me when I do this work to bring us to where they need to go. But the way I do past life regression is through a hypnotherapy process. So the person, I take them into a deeply relaxed state and we travel back. Often the goal will be, say the person comes in and says, I want a past life regression. I tell them right away, what's the issue? What called you into me? Because if they're just curious and they want to cruise through time, that's a lot of work for the regressionist, because you could just be there endlessly going from lifetime to lifetime experience, image to image. So I always hone it in by saying, let's go for one specific issue. Like, let's go to the original soul contract with this person, your spouse, let's say. So we go back into a regress state, and there's a technique that I have been taught that I do where I take them through time, and this journey, and they come out and they look at their feet, and that's sort of the first clue as to whether they're human or animal, or what they're feeling or experiencing. Do they have feet? I was in a past life regression once where I looked down to look at my feet, and I was looking out the door of a ship out into stars and planets, and I was about to descend to planet Earth from another dimension. So wow. I didn't have feet. But anyway, I would take them into a deep relaxed state, have them journey through space and time to a point where they land and meet and look at their appearance and find the soul that they're looking for in this session, to find what the original soul agreement was that's affecting this current incarnation. I try to keep it within some sort of structure, because through experience, I know this can go on and on and on forever. Well, now I'm in a field and there's a tree. Oh, there's a dog. Oh, there's a bunny. And now I see this nun, and you're kind of all over the map. So the guide has to help somehow contain it, or you just kind of cruise through time and space. Mm-hmm. So I would find out what's the issue. You're in an abusive relationship. You want to go back to the core reason you're with this person. What's the agreement that you agreed to in the original contract? And then we would go in and change that contract right then and there.
Oh, so you can actually do that?
Oh, yeah.
You can change.
Absolutely.
Now, see, you just threw a monkey wrench in everything.
Sorry. It's intention, and Sam's going to take it from here, because this is going to segue beautifully into what I believe is one way she works, and because it's your consciousness, and we do have it's all with intention. It can change in a minute, so go to her.
That's amazing. Yeah. So Samantha, how's this going to benefit a client? Walk me through those steps.
Okay. Now, I work a little bit different than Katherine. I'm going to say that I don't really do a regression. What I do is what I call a past life peek. Basically, I go in and look at the time period that you are particularly drawn to. I tell people, give me a year or a decade or something that you're drawn to. Most people do that. Some people, we actually go above and beyond this time and space, and we can do that too. But what I do is I end up looking at the situation of the day in that particular point in space time for that person. I don't want to know what their issues are. I don't want to know what they're drawn to. I don't want to know what they think their problem is. Just give me the time and space. I will go in and look at that point in space and time and see what was going on. I write out basically everything I see. It's almost like in story form. And then you take a look at that. And at the end of my readings, I will say, okay, most likely you will have issues with this, 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 and this, be drawn to this, be repulsed by that. The people put 2 and 2 together and say, that is what I struggle with in this life. So how does that help them? It's really planting a seed. At that point, when I do a past life peek, I'm not really going in there to change anything or to heal anything at the moment. It's just sort of an eye opener to understand consciousness, time, space, and how past lives work. At that point, then I take the client to a process of either showing them how to work with consciousness and heal themselves, or offer continuing like energy healing services, or send them to somebody like Katherine who can go back in, work with them, and release everything at the same time. So we give people options. So how it helps is by opening up an eye to a different perspective on connections between consciousnesses and points in space, and your ability to use that consciousness to see where you are right now and heal the issues at hand.
Greater self-awareness, absolutely. Yeah. Greater self-awareness.
Just different genres, different formats of getting to the same thing. It's just I would imagine people who go to Katherine are really ready to jump in there and heal it. Let's go in there, let's find it, let's heal it. With what I'm offering in my services, it's more like, let's see what this is. Sounds kind of interesting. And then I'll let the person decide if they want to roll forward with it or just use it as entertainment. Now, you mentioned something earlier about sort of contracts and sort of why did I contract to come and do this if I've already done it? It's like taking English 101. Then you go on to English 102 and 103 and then graduate school. Sometimes our contracts are because we're upping the game. We're learning a little bit more than we didn't learn last time. We had a bad relationship last time that was a little iffy. We needed to find our personal strength. And this one, it's a little iffy, but we found it. It's not perfect. Next one, we might really become independent. So I think sometimes we have those contracts to come back and learn a lesson again, just because it's not necessarily because we didn't learn it all the way, although sometimes that's true. But sometimes it's because now you're moving up a grade. You're just going to learn how to do what you need to do even better than you did before. So that maybe answers your question about why do you contract to come and do things over and over again.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, the whole contract thing is it's just such a vast topic that, I mean, we really actually should do a show on that. Because, and I'm sorry for the beeping in the background. I'm in the city and there's accidents and you're going to hear it. This is a live show, folks. Yeah. Okay, so.
Can I say one thing, Shay?
Yeah, go ahead.
And it may come out when you address my next question, but I just wanted to say on the tail of Samantha's thing, I answered your question in terms of past life regression work, which I actually do rarely because it's such a long process, but I do offer that in my service. But mostly people come in, just like Samantha said, where they just want to tell me what I was in my past life. And so I can go in and just read that. I go in and they're right in front of me or they're on the phone. And I just look at usually three lives will come up in general that are influencing them in this life that seem to take like front and center of my attention anyway. So I'll go in and say, oh, I see that you were a nun, and I'll give a little blip and who are the players, and then, possibly another life. That's how I was sort of taught to do a past life reading, which is very different than a past life regression. Mm-hmm. So the regression, the person is participating. The reading, the reader is telling them. And then you get the feedback, oh, yes, that resonates, like Sam was talking about. Samantha, sorry.
Sometimes it's just a seed. Sometimes that's all somebody wants to know. Plants a seed, it gets them on their path. Sometimes they step forward and say, "Ooh, now let's go heal that," and you give them options on how to do that. I just don't think, honestly, I don't actually do regression. Maybe I will in the future. I just read, but it comes up in regular readings all the time.
Yeah, people will come with. Sorry,
people will come just a little more validating. When somebody says, just tell me a year, I see the problem, it relates to something I didn't even know was going on in this life. And so there's different formats.
Phobias is a big thing, or repeated behaviors. People will come for that. Relating to past life healing, not just going to a hypnotist to stop smoking, for example.
Yeah.
You see the difference?
Right. Yeah. Really strong draws to genres or areas in the world, strong love of Paris, strong love of this particular time frame. You never know why, and you don't know why until you go look, but everything's all interconnected. And for a lot of people it sounds like it just sounds sort of weird and airy-fairy. You don't have to understand how consciousness works to necessarily benefit from taking a peek at your past lives. Don't worry about all that heavy stuff. Just go in and look first. You'll learn the heavy stuff later.
So, okay, we've got the heavy stuff, obviously, because it's life. But we've also got all the, the word karma comes up. Karma and past lives are almost, everybody meshes them together as if it's a given. Your past life or lives affect your karma. So on that note, we actually have a question. It's from Rosemary, who's a fellow BAP member, Best American Psychics member. Rosemary Fox has a great question. With your past lives, how is karma affected? And if you can really change your contract, and then also, does it change things in the now? So obviously these are three questions. Let's see, Katherine, we'll start with you on this one. So how would karma be affected? And can you really?
Well, Rosemary, you must be psychic, because I was walking today, my dog, and I was thinking about this show, and I was thinking about the question of karma coming up. And this is the example that Spirit showed to me. Imagine, we go through lifetimes of learning and evolving, as Samantha was pointing out earlier, a little bit of increments. And imagine you're born in this life into a family of poverty, for example, low income, and all that goes along with that on a psychological level, on a physical level. And then you grow up and you are free to live your life how you can and want to, and are creating your own abundance. And you bring in a higher level than you were born within this lifetime. But you still are kind of stuck at a cap. Like, you can't seem to fathom more than that level. And you're still kind of struggling maybe, but you're better than you were. So you're kind of satisfied with that. And then you come into the consciousness and all the talk around the planet right now about abundance consciousness and law of attraction, and you can change your karma. And so it's a balance, I feel, of your previous karma and how to increase learn your lesson, your soul lesson, based on your karmic propensity that you may not have full control over shifting completely, but stay within the realms of your karmic growth on the good side. For example, this person who does a little better, but they're not getting the millions they really wanted. For some reason, they're at a cap. They can't make the millions, so they're going to go rob a bank. They go right off course. They've screwed up their karma royally because now they're murdering someone at this bank robbery, and they're going down a whole nother rabbit hole of karma. When if they had just graciously worked on their receiving levels, their ability to push through that glass ceiling of their family's lineage of karma around poverty consciousness, and use within the realm of their karmic agreement of growth a way to legitimately, for their soul's journey, find a way to break that ceiling and have incredible wealth or abundance. They've broken a pattern. They've stayed within their karmic lessons, let's say, by not choosing to murder someone. So I think there is a point of choice, is what I'm saying, within that karmic history or story. Now, another argument could come in and say, well, how do you know it wasn't their karma to rob a bank and murder someone? And that's when we're getting out into those stratospheres of possibilities that are endless. And the truth is, you're always at choice point. But I do believe there's a certain spiral of experiences which we call karma, and it's not black and white, and it needs to be balanced. And I don't want to keep blabbing because it's just going to not make sense.
Makes sense to me. I mean, I get it completely. Consciousness has the capacity to change anything. And if that conscious choice was to go rob a bank instead of seek other forms of understanding, other forms of abundance, other forms of healing, other forms of knowing, those are two choices. Your consciousness made a choice. Just like when you're sick and the pills aren't working and you go, okay, well, I guess I'm going to stay sick. You also have a choice to go get on the internet now, thank goodness, and go seek alternative healing. Right. You have a choice. You have a choice to stay sick and die, or, well, that's kind of morbid, isn't it? We'll just say stay sick, or you have a choice to learn what you didn't know before. You only know what you know until you know something else. And if your mind stops and says, that's all I know is to go rob a bank, that's where your mind's going to go. But if something influences you to say, there must be more, there must be another way, consciousness, your connection with the oneness is, and you're listening well to that higher sense of knowing, if that can be listened to, you have the infinite capacity to make all kinds of choices and change that karmic contract.
It's how awake you are, right? How awake you are.
Exactly.
You can be unconsciously locked in poverty consciousness due to your karma. So if you
I've
raise
seen
your
seen so many people just say, oh, I give up, the pills aren't working. I said, have you tried this? Have you tried that? No, I don't know. Well, if you just say no, then okay. I was like, have you tried energy work? Well, I've never heard of it. Well, let's show it to you. There's a difference between saying no, thank you, and saying I didn't know. We only know what we know until we're told something else. And so that's why you have to have your mind open and your ears open and your heart open to even the weirdest sounding things. Thousands of years ago, somebody probably thought it was really weird that if I stick a needle in you here, you get better over there. But they're still doing it to this day. So it must work somewhere. But you only know what you know until somebody tells you something different or till you learn something different. So learn. Because consciousness can change everything.
So with that, I'll go back to the second half of Rosemary's question here. Can you really change your contract, and does it change things in the now? So Katherine, you stated earlier that you can actually go into somebody's past life, okay, and then whatever it is that they're having an issue with, you can just boom, go right in. Now, my first logical question, just thinking of this sort of very left-brained, is, okay, I can go back, I don't know, 200-300 years, and then how does that work? I mean,
So soul-to-soul communication, etheric plane communication, very similar to mediumship, same principles, I believe. You can talk to different parts of yourself in etheric plane communication, and you can speak with other souls that you know. So when my experience has been in my own regressions, and when I regress another person, when they come upon that other player in their story, that other soul, they recognize them usually through their eyes, even if they have a different appearance in that lifetime or they're a different gender, they still know that's my husband. And so we go up to that soul and we have a communication, a dialogue. And I say, okay, look into their eyes and speak, what you're here for and what you're wanting to understand, first of all. And then they do that. And then they receive an answer. They usually hear the other person respond. This is etheric plane communication. Now, given the laws of what we're talking about here, universal consciousness, the oneness, that soul on some level is actually with this soul, and they are communicating on some level in space and time or non-time. So
okay, so hold on, I'm going to interrupt you there really quickly because, okay, if people are out there listening to this and they don't have any experience with this, okay, I'm just trying to think of, the average person who might not have experience with this. Yeah. So basically you're saying that the way that you can go back in, well, I don't even want to say back because time is non-existent if I'm hearing this correctly. So in essence, it's sort of like, all these sci-fi movies that you see, your self now can go back to your younger self. It's like Back to the Future in essence. I mean, you're in this like circle. So what you're saying is you basically, because the soul is eternal, okay, and in outside of this dimension, we can visit other dimensions basically and reconnect with our soul in that dimension and change our trajectory. Is that correct?
And communicate with the other soul. And then when you come back into this consciousness, you wake up from your session or whatever, there may be some shift. It may take time because things work in, it's not like, boom, suddenly everything's perfect.
Right.
But, yeah. Shay, if we had time, I could say, close your eyes and imagine your sibling or your mom or your dad who may or may not be on the physical plane at this time. Have a conversation, see what she says. And when you open your eyes, you're going to feel differently about the issue that you had in your head because you have processed something with them.
Right. That makes sense.
So,
because that
like a forgiveness conversation, for example, or, something where you had a disagreement and you want to finish saying what you need to say without the person interrupting. So you do it on the etheric plane. And then the person says, sure. Hey, I really love you. I hope we can work this out. Then you come back to real time. You go see that sibling that you have the fight with, and the energy has shifted. It's less charged. It has been diffused because on the etheric plane, you have communicated. It's like the dream time, only you're consciously doing it rather than in sleep.
It's so there's so many different, it's like a waterfall, there's so many different levels and facets, and it's almost hard to wrap your mind around,
But you just have to experience it, and it's really simple to experience. You can do it alone, you can do it with a facilitator, you can do it in a meditation, and it will shift how you feel.
It's fascinating. Samantha, you do this all the time. You've done this for several hundred, 100, over 100 probably clients. So can you give us some examples? Like, have you done this for yourself? What, or can you give us an example from a client or two?
Yeah, I do this for myself all the time because there really is no now. When I study a lot of science too, because I love it when science proves what we as spiritual people already know. That's why I spend so much time studying physics. But no, for myself, I do this all the time. It's like I have a problem. I can't seem to overcome it. Why not? I can do so many other amazing things. Why is this one thing bothering me? Sometimes I will go and look at other points in space-time and say, oh, that's it. In that life, I was having this problem and I'm carrying it forward. I do it for myself, but I also go and have other people look for me just to balance things out, to make sure I'm not getting ego stuck in there. But for clients, I've had similar situations happen where they didn't know what was going on in this life. They couldn't put their finger on the problem. They said, there's nothing in this life that's should be making me feel this way. There's nothing in this life that's ever happened to me that should make me scared of that or drawn to this. And we go in and we look at past lives, and that will sometimes explain what's going on. What did you say? You wanted to know if they're about an experience or a client, for example?
Yeah, something that really stood out that where like a client, it really helped a client.
Oh, they're all amazing. They're all amazing, especially relationship issues. They're amazing. But I had one where I actually looked at a client's husband for her with his permission, and I did not know him. I've never read for him before, and he has terrible issues of thinking his wife, who loves him dearly, is going to leave him, is going to spiritually grow and leave him. And she always tells him, no, I'm the same person. Well, he had a past life where he had lost his family through tragedy. Basically, they left him, and he had lost his business because the government took it away, and he struggled. And he struggled his entire life. And after we took a look at this, it made so much sense to her why he couldn't accept her. I'm not going to leave you. I love you. It made so much sense to her that she could now communicate to him differently, so he could really absorb that information she was giving him, saying that she wouldn't leave. And in that same life, that was the one I told you about, where this gentleman was a bootlegger because he had to be. He was a beer maker. It got taken away from him by the government. He decided to do it anyway because he had lost his wife and his family. And it's too long of a story, but bottom line was the things that he did in that life were very similar to the things that he did in this life. And here's one caveat. Sometimes the things that we've done in past lives make us flip the script, and we absolutely abominate that thing in this life. Now, that man was a bootlegger, and he loved his alcohol in that life. He wasn't alcoholic. He just loved to drink. This life, this man has absolutely no interest in drinking whatsoever. But the two similarities that were there was this man hoarded his money, and he didn't want anybody to know, because if the government saw him have all this money as a poor farmer, they would get suspicious. So his one joy in life was a car he had bought himself. I think it was like a Model T, and he kept it in a barn, and he only drove it around the field at night to enjoy it. Woman says in this life he has a big fat super nice truck. He keeps it in the garage. He barely ever drives it. He doesn't want anybody else to drive it. He just wipes it with a towel. She's like, I can never understand why he bought this big truck and he doesn't drive it. And he doesn't understand that either, but now she does. And she's decided, you're going to take that car out and drive it. And she's now pushed him forward into becoming comfortable with his abundance and becoming comfortable with his family. So every story has connections like that, really weird things that only make sense to those people. But in this case, this was a little bit different. See, instead of looking at the person, I was looking at the person's spouse. You say, well, how does that help you to look at somebody else? Well, now she knows how to communicate with him. Instead of getting mad of saying, why don't you believe me? And why don't you think I'm not going to leave you? Now she knows why he can't hear that, why he can't feel that from her. And she can talk to him and connect with him in a different way to help him become comfortable in his 15-year relationship with her. These people aren't just newly married. They've been married for a long time. Still feels that she's going to leave him, and she's not. So every past life has a different connection for each person.
Yeah, that's basically a pretty deep, and so in effect, someone like Katherine could go in and maybe revisit that particular spot.
There's something about understanding. There's something about understanding that experience that will already be healing for him unconsciously, and then because she understands it, then there's a field that they will communicate in.
Now she's not just getting mad at him and madder and madder and madder progressively over the years. About, why don't you believe me? Eventually she might get so tired of him being scared that she's going to leave that she might leave. Now she knows. Yeah. And she can work with him on that. So in essence,
can help change the contract a little bit.
The work has already been done. in her consciousness, the work of the release, the peace has already been done, and that will overflow and reflect onto him. Consciousness knows no time or space. There is no now. Scientists have been trying to prove what increment of time now is, and every time they come up with a smaller portion of time, they realize that it gets even smaller. The truth is, there really is no now. Everything is happening all at once. All lives, all issues, all consciousness is laid out on a sort of a linear plane. You can jump from one point to another with consciousness, view what you need to view, heal what you need to heal, change what you need to change with consciousness, come back to this point in space and time, and keep rolling. It just depends on how you want to look at it. Whatever works for you works. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. That's very
well
true.
said.
So awesome. And Shay, on a simple level, there's just a brief story I can share about a woman who had very bad eczema and psoriasis on her arms, on her forearms, and she went to see my teacher at the time, years ago, who was my past life regression teacher, David Quigley, and it's alchemical hypnotherapy. It's a certain kind of hypnosis. Anyway, she did a regression. In the regression, she reached through a fire to save her burning child. And she put her arms in the flames and pulled them out, and they were burned from here down.
Wow.
And after she did that regression memory, her psoriasis and eczema cleared right up. It wasn't just her gut and her diet, on the physical level. In this life, none of those things were working. This cured it. Something about her brain in this life digesting and revisiting on a cellular level that experience, her body said, okay, it's over.
Yeah.
And it stopped.
I've seen that happen before. I mean, I can't guarantee what's going to change with somebody, but that's so funny that you brought up eczema. I have a client who has those allergies to environmental allergies to everything.
Yeah.
And she itches. She has eczema and it's extremely itchy. And we did some work, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. And she said, and I was very surprised, I did this work for free because I just wanted to see if it would help her at all. And she did message me, and she said that in that night, in the middle of the night, the itching stopped, the unbearable itching. Now, the eczema didn't go away, and the environmental allergies are still there, and she's working slowly on that, but that stopped, and she had arthritis in one of her fingers. And that was just through energy work. We had looked at past lives previously, but she could start to move her fingers. So the mind and the consciousness holds things, and then it wants to manifest in the physical body. But I see that connection. That's not a burn. Ooh, it's giving me goosebumps. That's not a burn, but it's similar. It's it's something that's all encompassing. It's something that's very
layered. It's layered, and it takes time in our dimension still.
Yep.
It takes time for things to filter down into a cohesive, coherent whole.
Yeah, so you can look back and go, look where I was. Right. Now it's all gone. It's not. It's amazing. I'm just gonna say it's not magical. It's amazing, but it does. You're right. It does take time. This existence is so limited by time. Even our verbiage, even our language, is all codified in words of time, which is the great limiter. I have another word that I use. It's the great something else, but I'll just say, and this one is the great limiter of what we can do with our minds. If we stop telling ourselves no and start to realize the capacity that the consciousness, not the brain's just a mechanism, that consciousness has to move around, to do things, to change things, to influence things, to create things, we would be much better off. And there are many, many people in history who have done this. There's lots of little books written about them, and there's many that everybody know who did not take time limitation or no for an answer. They just said it is, and it was.
The Aladdin factor.
Right,
yeah.
And but we can do that too. We've just scared. We've just been told so many times no, or told we try to think so linearly that it doesn't make sense. Stop thinking linearly. Just accept.
And remember too, here, guys, we're talking about the Western culture in this show, in this environment, this demographic of audience who's watching this. There's a tribe I heard about somewhere in Africa or somewhere who they don't even have the word want in their vocabulary. They don't have I want, which means there's no lack in their consciousness because they don't understand the word want. Yeah. So they just have what is, and it's a very different reality for for them. So languaging is a huge piece of how we condition the neural pathways in our brain. And now we're getting to neurobiology, because everything is one and connected. It's holographic, the soul, the mind, the consciousness, the physical form that comes from that. So our languaging is everything. And that's why when you get into topics about manifesting and law of attraction, it has a lot to do with, yes, your languaging, your thought, and then your vibration and your frequency. Because when you dial it right down and dilute the universe, everything is frequency. It's all energy.
Yep.
It really is amazing how it's
mind blown.
Yeah, seriously.
Then you just have to go. Your mind gets blown. You go have a cupcake. Then you come back and go, okay, now I can function again. Because people say,
that's the quote of the day. Your mind gets blown. Go have a cupcake. That's perfect.
Don't overwhelm yourself with this, or you'll want to crawl up into a ball and never leave your house again. You can't do that.
Or just not give a peep, because
the cupcake store doesn't deliver. So just absorb what you can absorb, understand what makes sense to you, then keep building on it. You don't have to understand everything all in one day. Nobody does. Nobody does. No. But take a little bit at a time, explore, have a reading here, do a little past life regression there. It only has to make sense to you. You don't have to explain it to anybody else. And sometimes there just are no words. Like Katherine said, there just are no words to describe certain points in space and time. You just kind of have to accept them. And for those people who tell you these things and if they sound to you, oh my God, that person's airy fairy, they're crazy, they're talking about this and that, just accept it for whatever it is. It might take you 20, 30 years to realize what they were talking about, but that seed was planted. I remember people 30 years ago talking about different dimensions and things like that. And I'm thinking, cuckoo. But now I realize, oh my gosh, if I had only known then what I know now, I could have asked them a lot more questions. So you don't have to understand it all. Just get on the ride. Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Well, I do have... Oh, go ahead, Katherine.
I was just going to say, my mother at the end of her life, when she was getting very old, in her upper 80s and close to passing, she had lost her sight and she was on an oxygen tank, and she'd say, I just say yes. She just opened her whole being to what is. And she was happy and gracefully exited with that, all that suffering encompassed in it. I just say yes,
That's a good statement.
I love that.
Just say yes.
I love that. I know. I love that.
Stop telling we step into this life being told what we can't do. That's impossible. You will never. Right. You won't. Only other people do. Someday, everything's like you said, in perpetuity.
It's a paradigm.
I'm chasing my dream. Why are you chasing your dream? Just live it.
It's a paradigm.
Say it is. And then it is, because if everything is all happening at once in the universe and everything is consciousness, that it is, I am thankful for this thing that is my brand new house. Stop saying, it's someday. Say it as if it is today. And then somewhere in the universe it is, and you'll find your way there.
Pull it in. Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's abundance of any kind, health, it is.
It's just fear that blocks it. It's just the vibration frequency of fear that blocks anything to you.
You've been told, everybody says, oh, you have such a gift. It's not a gift. This is within everyone. Consciousness is everyone.
It's all vibration.
Yeah, do anything. Think anything, do anything. It's not just special people that are gifted. It's just some people just chose to dig in there a little bit more. And if you can't dig in there or don't want to, that's fine. That's what people like us are for.
Oh, wait. And also, though, Samantha, gifted, no, maybe not, but sequences of repeated lifetimes of being a seer, a reader, a healer, a pianist, Mozart at 6 years old, being a genius. That's Samara's.
Yeah, you build on that, taking forward that greatness that you knew, that yes that you knew. Not all things you bring forward in your past lives is bad stuff. You can have greatness come forward at a very young age, which explains, you're right, prodigies and artists and people who can pick up languages and things.
Propensities and talents.
Yeah, but it's all there. It's all mixed together, and it's crazy. There's no one answer, one explanation for everything. That's what we said, mind blower. This needs to be a 2-part show. But start where you're at.
It's going to be.
Start wherever you're at. If you just want to look at past life for entertainment, look at it for entertainment. If you're really ready to look at it to heal, then let's get in there and heal it one way or another. But know that
Yeah.
every person has the power to do this for themselves. If they don't feel comfortable doing it themselves, then go to a facilitator. That's what we're here for. So.
Yeah. Well, ladies, this thing has flown by. I mean, I'm telling you, it's almost like time didn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay, I do though. We had one question that we didn't get to, and if you guys can spare about 5 more minutes from Instagram, and I want to answer her. She says, "How about now? I look young, but I feel old. Am I an old soul?" So, can you guys touch on old souls a little bit? I'll jump to you for this one.
To who, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Old souls, yes. I mean, old, young, it's about experience, I guess, in that tapestry of your traveling through time and dimensions and experiences. I would imagine that some souls have a propensity for certain repetitive areas of growth. Some people really love Earth and they come a lot either to help out or to learn and grow from experiences here. Some people get some lifetimes where they get to be in a different light body, an easier dimension. I think the more experience you gather as a soul, the wiser you're going to be and become, hence old soul. I've heard also that the older souls will take on in this life, in this dimension anyway of Earth, they'll take on a lot of challenge in a lifetime because they want to burn through stuff really fast and they're done. They want to be done with visiting this planet. So they take on really hard mental illness or abuse or horrible things because they're actually an old soul and they're ready to evolve beyond these experiences. The younger souls need to have more experiences, so they often will, take their time in making lives a little easier as they go. That's one theory I've heard. I don't think there's any one answer to that question or how to pinpoint it, honestly, because it's a feeling or a knowing within yourself, I believe. That's the only way to really answer that question is go within yourself, get quiet. Meditation is the only word I can put to that state, but some people hear meditation and they think, oh, I can't sit still that long. Meditation can be walking, it can be daydreaming, it can be scrying, staring into something or writing on a page without really thinking. It's getting beyond the ego mind and just connecting in here and find out the experience of your soul and what you know. When Samantha mentioned 30 years ago, people were talking about, other dimensions, and there were channelers were really big in the 80s, and they were doing stage shows of channeling and making sounds and beep, boop, up. None of that was weird to me. I got it. I just knew what that was because of my soul experience and where I've been. Yeah. So I didn't, Katherine, the ego self, didn't know that I had known that before until I had that experience and connected it with that familiarity. So go within, go inside the journey, guys. It's all in here. Everything you need to know is right in here. And facilitators like Samantha and myself are here to help service you to get in there. But it all is in you. So are you an old soul? Possibly. If you feel that you are, most likely you are. Go in and find out and have it read for you if you want validation of what you've already come to think. And at the end of the day, being here now is really what matters, whether you're old or young.
That's true. All answers come from within.
Makes sense.
All answers.
Yeah, and that's it. They all come from within because we've already kind of we've been there, done that. But see,
everything. So
yeah. But this is sparking so many more questions. Like, when is a soul born? How is a soul born? What?
The Vedas have a lot of answers. Just go to the Vedic scriptures. That's all explained. You got to have my husband on, Shay. He'll tell you all of that.
Oh, sure. Just go to the Vedic scriptures. Yeah, I'll just pull them up.
It's so cool. In a nutshell, there's a story about. They say that the soul is created on a razor's edge, and a glance to the one direction takes you into this high eternal existence where you never have to experience the other dimensions or lifetimes, and a glance to the other direction on this razor's edge of creation when your soul's created takes you into wanting to experience like a little god, and you go to Earth and you go to other dimensions. That's the way this particular story I have in mind explains it in the Vedas. In a nutshell.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I need a whole pack.
Do you see now why we tell people we are full-time professionals? We eat, sleep, breathe this stuff. We read it. We look into science. We look into ancient, whether Veda 7,000 years old. We look at all different religions. We spend time in every possible aspect of understanding what it is that is the self and what it is to be a consciousness. This isn't something that we just take very lightly. We learn, we grow, we have our opinions at the moment. Those might change over time. We might learn something new, and those things change. So I, like Katherine, I take my work very seriously. I'm very proud to say full time. Full time. This is what I do.
This is why you two ladies are on bestamericanpsychics.com. So, and you're on Metaphysical Minds. So that's why you're here. But unfortunately, today we're out of time. This 40 minutes flew by, and actually we're 10 minutes past. But we're coming back in 2 more weeks, folks. Same BAP time, same BAP channel, right here at noon. 2 weeks from now, we're gonna get into part 2 of this show, and I can actually see this. Honestly, this topic is so vast. We could even have a series on it. I mean, it's crazy. So, if you are watching this even in replay or anything, and you have any questions, please comment, because in the show 2 weeks from now, we will be answering some more questions, and we're going to delve into this topic a lot more deeply. In the meantime, if you'd like to connect with either Katherine Glass or Samantha Hall, they are both tested and proven members of bestamericanpsychics.com, which is sort of the catalyst for this show. So their links are right here in the comments. Please feel free to check them out. Tomorrow, guys, we are having a special show. It's a follow-up to our astrology and palmistry show that we did, and we're having it at a special time because of the eclipse and all that good stuff. So that is tomorrow. It's called Surviving and Thriving Through the Caterpillar Soup. So in other words, we're going to be talking about the eclipse and how that's affecting folks. So we're going to be here at noon tomorrow. Mark your calendars for that, because we've got lots of great stuff. We're going to have Lisa Greenfield and Kathy Beal back. And I know we have lots of questions from the audience on that. It's a Q&A follow-up to the first show. So with all that, I'm out of breath. But we're going to be back. Join us tomorrow. Join us in 2 weeks from now, particularly for these two ladies. Ask your questions. And in the meantime, any final words of wisdom, Katherine, Samantha?
I just want to say, Shay, the beauty of all of this is the diversity of souls and what we're interested in or drawn to at any particular time in any lifetime. It's the differences in us that make it amazing. There's no one right answer. Maybe there is an ultimate reality that we're all heading for, an ultimate enlightenment, but the journey along the way is wonderful too, and the diversity of that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Don't stress too much. Just be the best you can be.
Yeah, as long as your mind's open, all paths lead to enlightenment. That's why you never say never. Never say never. You just don't know what one little thing is going to open your mind and open your world to understanding the greater being of consciousness. So, keep at it.
Fantastic. Ladies, great job. Thank you for the wealth of information here today. I mean,
no problem.
I have a lot to actually really process in the next 2 weeks to just follow up with this. So thank you both for being here and for volunteering your time for free to the public to educate them on this fascinating topic of past lives. So we're going to be back with part 2, like I said, of this show in 2 weeks, folks. In the meantime, I'm Shay Parker. This is Metaphysical Minds. Tune in tomorrow for our special show. But until then, take care of yourselves and take care of one another. We're signing out.
Bye-bye.